Hey guys, KlaSSiK here, and today we have episode 4 of my OOTP 23 tutorial series. And in this video, we're going to be going over the first year player draft, or also known as the amateur draft. So we are back in my Oakland A's save. It is currently July 11th, 2024, so it is draft day. And in this video, I just wanted to go over what it is that you should do to get the most out of a draft in terms of getting the best player every pick as every round, and also to ensure that you are getting value in the picks that you're grabbing. So let's go ahead and take a look at the draft pool here. And in the draft pool, you're going to see that I'm currently under a custom view, and that's kind of how it's going to work out here. What we're going to want to do is leverage the custom views we have. We can also pair that with the filters options here. But what I'll do real quick is I'll just clear out the filters and use what I've aptly called the overall draft view. With this overall draft view, what the goal is to get as much information as possible into one page and without being too overwhelming. So what I've gathered here is kind of what I like to consider the most important, not important, but most telling ratings that you can look for in a player in the draft. So what we have here is the position, the player's name, obviously, their age, their height, their weight, which side they bat, which side they throw, their current overall rating, their potential rating, according to my scout. Obviously, you could also change it up to see how other scouts in the league might be evaluating these players. And then we have the contact potential, power potential, home run power potential, and the eye and plate discipline potential. So these are what I call the batting potentials. Then we also have the stuff potential, movement potential, and control potential, which I will call the pitching potentials. Then we have the stamina, hold, also for pitchers. We have the speed, stealing, the running abilities over here for any base hitter, so any batters. Here we have the what I call the defensive ratings. So we have the catcher ability, infield range, and outfield range. The reason we're using the infield and outfield range is because these are the most telling in terms of the effectiveness of of an infielder or an outfielder, especially in the most important positions, which will be shortstop and center field, at least for this iteration of out of the park baseball. Next up, we have the pitches, because the more pitches you have in your inventory, the more lethal you will be as a pitcher. We have the velocity. Then we have the demand. So the demand is very important because this will indicate whether or not you will be able to sign certain players and whether or not it's even worth it. So, for example, here you have Mason Marriott, who has a demand of 11 million. It doesn't necessarily mean he's going to get this 11 million, depending on his signability. It's going to be close, and as a team like the Oakland Athletics, if your finances are kind of on the low side, you might not be able to afford these players, even if you're, one of the top drafting teams. You might want to adjust your budget at the start of the season to increase that possibility, maybe lower your developmental budget, but this is kind of important because if you can't afford these players, then it's pointless in trying to sign them. Or even if you could afford it, I would throw all my money, let's say, to sign um, Cheatham here. And then what do you do for the rest of the rounds? You can't really afford to bring anyone else on. Then we have the signability, which is also very important because if you see these impossible signability marks, and with the impossible demands, obviously, this means that these players most likely will not join your organization, so don't waste a draft pick on them. Unless, of course, you're willing to sign them for their absurd asking. Normally, these will be in high millions of dollars. And as you can tell, they're not really worth it right now in this draft, except for Isaac Pena here, but even then, that's questionable. Scouting accuracy is always good because it tells you whether or not your scout did his job on this player. And finally, I have the short list that I added because it allows me to sort players at the end of the draft. So what I'll do is I'll use these ratings that I've brought up, such as contact potential. So maybe I'll want to add the top contact players in the draft. I'll add them to my draft options shortlist. And if you take a look here, this one's going to be draft options 2024. And what I'll do with that is that at the end of the filtering period, which is what we're going to go through here, is I'll be able to sort my players via the shortlist. So as the rounds go through, I don't need to go digging for where are the players with value because I've already identified them and I'll be able to just go through my shortlist. So what can we do here with this view? Why is it so important and how does it give you an edge on the rest of the competition? Well, this overall draft view again helps you kind of dictate how easy it is for you to find good players to pick up. So yeah, obviously you could sort them through potential, which is something you can do through this default view here. But as you've seen with the overall draft view, we could also sort players by their contact potential, their home run power potential, their stuff potential as a pitcher, their catcher ability, their infield range. So let's say, you know, you're not as you go through the rounds, you're going to be able to look for players with different values because at the start of the rounds, you're gonna obviously want to go for the best possible players, but that's also going to be the same moving down. But the best possible players won't necessarily be who they are based on their potentials here or their contact potential or their power potential, but maybe it'll be based on how they might be able to contribute in the future, either directly to your team as a prospect or as a bargaining chip. So again, if we take a look here, for example, and we start sorting by contact, let's say that through this contact potential, all players with a 60 contact potential or higher are gone. So let's just create a filter here. So batting ratings, and then we're going to go into contact potential, and we're going to do is less than 60. So instead of looking at players that have a contact potential of 55, which is only slightly better than average, it might be worth looking at players who have a better home run power potential. So in this instance, for example, we have um, Lorenzo Carrier here, who is a fly ball hitter. He has a potential of 55 contact. He's currently at 30. He has 55 potential and current gap power. He has a 50 home run current ability, home run power ability, and a potential of 70. He's got a 40 current ability in his eye and a potential of 50, a potential of 60 avoid Ks with a current of 35. We can also see that he is a fly ball hitter. He's only 21 years old. If we take a look here, he has an easy sign ability and he's only asking for the slot. So this is a player that's going to bring a lot of value to your team in terms of as a prospect or even as a trading piece. And he might not be someone that appears immediately if you're sorting by potential because his potential is lower than a lot of the other players here. He's going to be down towards the bottom of the page. If you're going by contact potential, you might not have found him because you know we have this filter going on right now where we're able to see him. Um, Maybe if you started off by just filtering with power potential, he might have shown up. But as you can tell, just purely based on his contact potential, he's already better than the other players with a 70 power potential. His eye is pretty good as well. And then if we take a look at his running ability, his base running is not bad either. And as an outfielder, he has a 60 range. So if we take a look here, he might not be someone I put in center field, but he'd be able to get the job done. And he's someone I might put in left or right field. But again, he'd be capable of playing in center field. He's capable of playing in all three um, locations. He could play on the infield as probably as a first baseman if you really needed him there. And so this is the type of player you would pick up in maybe the seventh or 10th round, depending on what it is, depending on what the players are available. So this is the type of player that I would automatically just place in my draft options because I know that if we go to my overall draft view without any filters and we go through this, let's say all of these other players are gone, right? He might still be here because he's in this lower potential rating all the way down there compared to the rest of these players. So even if all these players go, the chances of me getting him are still pretty high, especially since I've already earmarked him and I know that he's a capable player. And that's the kind of approach you should take as the rounds go by. You should always look to have um, a the best player available to you, and not just by potential, but also in terms of what they're capable of. And to give you another example here, I have leveraged these views to create other options such as, let's say here, the draft pitchers deets. So this one will give you a very specific breakdown of the pitchers within the draft. And what you can see here is I can sort by current stuff or their stuff potential. I could also sort by their fastball potential, maybe their changeup. And again, let's say you're a guy who primarily likes stuff, but let's go ahead and create another filter where the stuff potential is now less than, let's go with 55, yeah, right? So now you only have average stuff pitchers, but maybe amongst those players, you have someone with a better potential, movement potential. We have Bailey Thorne here who has a 75 movement potential, but the rest of his stuff, of his potentials aren't that great, which is why it's important to have all this information on the same page. It saves you the trouble of having to go into that player's profile and see if they're worth it. Here we have Anthony Joya, although his stuff potential is average, he's already at a 40. He's 21. He has a 55 current rating for his movement with a potential of 70. He has a 45 current control potential rating with a potential of 60. And his pitches aren't bad. It seems that he has 3 pitches in his arsenal. And if we take a look at this player here, we'll see that he is a neutral pitcher. He has some pretty good stuff. He is a 54 potential pitcher. Although I'm not a big fan of his personality, he seems to have the ability to reach his potential because of just where his current ratings are. Although he is a little older at 21, this is the type of player you might want to pick up and take a risk on maybe later in the draft. Again, he's he has a potential of 54. So there's every chance that he'll be available in the later rounds. And although he's not one of the top players, he's still someone worth taking a look at who has some good potential. For example, we have Brady Tygart here, who's also pretty nice looking, except for his low control, which kind of tanks his overall here, and also the lack of a pretty good curveball. The rest of this pitching looks fine. And let's say you're in the 19th, 20th round, the final rounds, and you don't know who to take. This might be someone you might be interested in picking up, especially since his bonus demand is going to very likely go away to just the slot. So that's kind of it, really. It's all about leveraging the views that are available to you and taking the time to create them and saving them, because once they're saved, you could apply them to every draft moving forward. And to also, if you want, obviously pair it with filters to get an even better view of the type of players you're looking for. And yeah, just be aware of your team's current financial standing, the available players in the draft, your draft position, and look for value. Don't draft for your current needs. Always draft for the future, be it as potential cornerstones for your team moving forward or as a potential bargaining chip because that's what prospects are best for. They are there for building the team in the future by developing the players that you've drafted or by trading them away for current superstars or current, um, I guess, cur- players that can currently contribute to your success. So that's all from me, guys. I hope you found this informative and helpful. Once again, just keep in mind what you've heard in this video. If you have any questions, comments, or anything, if there's anything you'd like to see on the channel, please go ahead and leave a comment down below. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, go ahead and leave a like. It means a lot. Go ahead and subscribe if you're interested in the other videos, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.